the new theme song. New theme song, new season. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, LEGTV. It is official. The NFL has kicked into high gear. We've already had an incredible first week. Some surprising wins, some shocking losses, and already some injury bugs and some top players really taking a huge, steamy Cleveland Brown on the field. But why don't we do the review for last week? Let's see that scoreboard. That's right, we're bringing it back. Let's see that beautiful graphic. There it is. We have John David Brake, myself, the commission, beating Mick Barton in a very contested match. Not really. 172 to 117. That was in thanks to Saquon Barkley on Friday night in Rio, going off for 35 points. Had some chip in from Godwin. Even though Amon-Ra St. Brown, only 5 points, one of the many top stars to disappoint. Speaking of disappointment, Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie, only 1.4 points for Mick. He caught a ball for 4 yards, so good for him. Insane Ground Posse. This was a strong showing, taking out Jared Fogle enthusiast and apologist to Act Street Boys, Austin Stoll, 187 to 153. The Dak Street Boys did get a good performance out of Lamar Jackson on Thursday night. However, it was not enough to overcome Josh Allen's 32 points with 2 tutties on the ground, 2 tutties in the air. And look at that, like Alvin Kamara came back with 22 points. And Joe had a defensive end out of Buffalo giving 18 points. That's unreal. It's going to be hard to beat Joe in games like that. Dan Nickel takes out John Dahlgren 184 to 150. Another big scoring effort from Dan Nickel, moving to 1-0. Isaiah Likely, what an incredible start. It was the battle of the two Baltimore Raven tight ends. Dan made the good choice. Dahlgren did not. I can't believe Dan somehow had the foresight to start Likely and probably had Likely his career game, scoring 28 points, got a touchdown off of 9 receptions and 111 yards. And Tyreek Hill, fresh out of handcuffs, 28 points. That helped. And his kicker on the 49ers, Moody, with 26 points. Of course you're going to score 184. And not a lot from Mark Andrews, only 3 points. Anthony Richardson and Ramondre Stevenson had good games, so that was going for him. Let's go to one of the only 2 upsets of the week. Modelo Virus gets the W. Boy, do we owe Jalen an apology for the Jaden Daniels draft, as he scored 27 points, helping him win 155 to 110 over lowly Hoffa winner Shook Fields of Gold. Oh boy, not a good output for the old Shookster. As you can see there, one of the top players, his top player is Chris Olave, only 3 points, and we will get to Chris Olave right after the scores. The CJ Stroud Nico Collins combo did not work out for Shook, and it's hard to overcome a kicker scoring 21 points there for Jabel. Again, getting the win. Nice win there. Here was the other upset, working from Mahomes with a big win despite starting Christian McCaffrey, who was a scratch at the very last second on Monday Night Football, and still managed to score 170 points, beating Anu 142.87. Jaden Reed, 35 points, was unbelievable. Mike Evans, steady Eddie, just does what he does, man. 1,000 yards and just gets touchdowns all day. Now, Adam did lose Jordan Love as well. He's going to be out 2-3 weeks, but avoided the IR tag. Poor Anu did not get a production out of Drake London, another high-profile player, only 3 points. Did get nice production from H.A. and Stephon Diggs against the Colts, 21 points. Looked like the Stephon Diggs of old. Let's go over to Plow. Plow got a win over Robbie, 169 to 155. Cooper Kupp had an amazing game. This was the battle of the Rams receivers on Sunday night. Unfortunately for Abi, Puka Nacua only 8 points and left the game with a knee injury and has been placed on injured reserve, so he's going to be at least out for 4 weeks. Did get a nice performance out of A.J. Brown and Brian Robinson Jr. However, Rocky Bitches got some decent output from Julian Love, the defensive back, 18 points, overcoming a very mediocre Mahomes performance. So Plow gets the W. So there you have it. There's the rundown from week 1. And we do have some breaking news. Well, not so much breaking. It is if you're watching this for the first time. We do have the first trade already. We're week 1. We already have a mega trade. I don't really think it's that fair. It looks like Nick Shook is sending Chris Olave, who I mentioned, to Joe Murdoch, who had the highest scoring team in week 1, for Jerome Ford. Yes, the Jerome Ford experience will now be going over to Fields of Gold and will be making his way to the bench once Nick Chubb returns. And Chris Olave had a fluke game and definitely will be a part of that New Orleans offense, being the number 1 receiver in New Orleans. And they're going to pass a lot, and the Browns aren't going to run a lot because they're going to be trailing. What kind of NFL team runs the ball when they're behind? What a stupid take. Only a moron would think that. Anywho, that trade has gone through. Both teams have received their players, and now we are heading into week 2. Let's get into it. We have a very, very special guest for the week 2 roundup, the star of Thursday Night Football, none other than Greenwood, Indiana's own Crocky J. Crocky J, thanks for coming on.
Oh, great to be here, mate.
Okay, it's great to have a celebrity here. Are you ready to make the picks with me here?
Oi, as ready as I'll ever be, you bloody poster.
All right, well, let's, hopefully this looks better than I think it's going to turn out. Let's go to the first game. It is myself, 1-0, Pokemon, got to catch 'em all, taking on the Nazi sympathizer, Austin Stoll, an adult male Disney goer. All right, Crocky, we're going to go through the games this week in week 2, and we're going to pick a winner, and we'll see who is correct at the end of the week. Let's look at the first matchup. It is Pokemon versus adult male Disney park attender Austin Stoll. This is projected to be very, very close. Austin did get the loss last week. Yahoo thinks this is going to be very close, 158 to 157. I personally think this is going to be a win for Pokemon, and it all comes down to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who looks to rebound against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Amon-Ra will have a great game. And not to mention, there's some juicy matchups for the star players there. It's really about the top 4. It's Jalen Hurts going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Chris Godwin going against Detroit, at Detroit, indoors. Saquon Barkley with, Jalen Hurts. He was also going against Atlanta. And Derrick Henry looks to make up for being washed on Thursday Night Football. I think those 4 carry to victory, even though we're going to see good performances from Lamar Jackson. I'm not so sure about DJ Moore and Tank Dell. Those are receivers that are going to be struggling to get the ball. One, because there's no passing in Chicago that's worth anything, and 2, there's a lot of mouths to feed in Houston. I do like Bijan Robinson, though, going up against the Eagles. That should be a good matchup, and we'll see what Kenneth Walker does. But I am taking Pokemon to take it this week. What do you think, Crocky J?
I think Austin needs to sod off the bloody tosser. I'll take him to lose.
I can already tell this was a bad idea. All right, let's go to the next matchup. Dan Nickel, 1-0, taking on Fields of Gold. This is going to be a blowout. I mean, Shook was obviously in dire straits, needing a running back so bad he gave away Chris Olave, the number 1 receiver in New Orleans. A tale of the tape. I don't think there's a scenario where Dan doesn't win this. Again, Tyreek Hill had a wonderful, wonderful performance after getting arrested outside of the stadium. I am very concerned about Kyren Williams, what kind of role he's going to play moving forward in the season. He had an okay game against Detroit, but he's got that rookie right behind him who's essentially a carbon copy, and Isaiah Pacheco is hit or miss. But I know Dak is going to light it up in New Orleans. He just got paid, and he's got a lot to prove on that contract. But my key to this week is David Montgomery. David Montgomery showed out last week, just running down the throat of the Rams defense and getting that victory for Detroit. I think that's going to be huge in the flex spot. Well, let's look at Shook's team. CJ Stroud and Nico Collins combo. Is that going to pay off in Denver? Denver's actually kind of a sneaky good defense, and it's at Denver. I don't like Jerome Ford. Justin Jefferson is experiencing the Darnold renaissance. Sam Darnold is looking like a true NFL starter, so it looks like he might be okay. But I just don't think it's enough. I'm looking up and down that roster. Even though I do like the flex play with Jameson Williams in Detroit, that was a good pick. He had a great game. You know, Amon-Ra only had 5 points. It was all Jameson Williams. But I'm taking nickel this week to take it pretty easily. How about you, Crocky J? Who wins this week?
Never picked a hoffer, mate. Plus, Dan is my weed dealer.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought. All right. The highest scoring team in the league in week 1, Joe Murdoch's Insane Ground Posse taking on John Dahlgren's Clock Gobblers. And this is also projected win for Joe. And I honestly do not think there's really much here to think that John can upset Joe this week. And it centers around the number 1 fantasy output player last week, Josh Allen. The guy is just doing it all. I mean, he is scoring in the air. He's running on the ground. He is a one-man show there in Buffalo. It doesn't matter if they don't have the receivers. Josh Allen will do it all himself. And also, don't forget, with the whole IU situation in San Francisco, Deebo Samuel, I think he's going to have that. You remember that one year he used to do everything? He was like the Swiss Army knife. I think Deebo's going to be the guy in San Francisco this year. Ayuk's got to crawl out of the doghouse for stringing the Niners along. And then on top of that, he's got Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you know, he had an okay game against the Texans, but Jonathan Taylor's going to have a good year this year. And he's healthy. He looks healthy with the RPO offense. I mean, defenses have to commit to Anthony Richardson. That's just going to open up lanes for Jonathan Taylor. I'm sure he'll get at least a touchdown or two this week, hopefully, against the Packers. So that's really my keys for Joe. I don't see really anything in Dahlgren's favor unless Anthony Richardson does a combo touchdown on the ground, touchdown in the air. He's got to get a little bit more consistent in the passing game. CeeDee Lamb. We need a big game from CeeDee Lamb. Where is the big CeeDee Lamb game coming? Because it's not going to come from Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams has got Gardner Minshew throwing to him. Rashad White, his days are numbered. I'm telling you, Bucky Irvin's going to take over that backfield. Rashad White, great out of the backfield, actually, was taking passes. He can do that. But Bucky Irving just looks like the more explosive running back in Tampa Bay. He did, Dahlgren got a nice little output from Ramondre Stevenson last week. That's not going to last. New England looks like garbage. I know they beat the Bengals. But I'm taking Joe this week. I think it's an easy one. What do you think, Crocky J? Who are you taking, Joe or John?
Everybody knows John's a bloody poofter. Plus, Joe's team's pretty good. I like Murdoch. Oi!
Okay, let's go to boom. There's the flavor. Mick Barton taking on surprising 1-0 Adam Barris, who had a huge game last week. I actually think the momentum continues in this one for Adam Barris, and I am taking Adam Barris to beat Mick this week. Mick's in a little bit of a trouble spot right now. Yahoo does have Adam winning, and that's mainly because of Christian McCaffrey coming back. I do think he's going to play that whole scratch Monday night. That was just kind of to be safe. I like Christian McCaffrey to have a huge breakout game in Minnesota, indoors. Mike Evans is also going to produce. The only weakness I see really is kind of the QB play with Jared Goff. What kind of Jared Goff are we going to get against Tampa Bay? And Jaden Reed, he is going up against the Colts. Colts defense is not good, and it hasn't been good for a very long time. It's almost if a GM just kind of ignored that entire side of the ball. But I don't think he's going to have the same output he did in week 1. Now let's look over to Mick. Mick does have some hope, a slimmer of hope. It all depends on, again, big players like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's supposed to have a good year this year. He's also healthy. He's going against the Rams in the stadium. Will he get Marvin Harrison Jr. going? We need to see that combo going. Mick needs that combination going to have a chance in this game. I don't think it happens. Austin Eckler's your running back. Jalen Warren's your running back. Trey McBride. Okay, Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, and Marvin Harrison Jr. The Arizona Cardinals better produce, or Mick does not win this game. And they're going up against the Rams, who are pretty good. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm taking Adam Barris. Crocky J, do you think the Arizona Cardinals are going to do it for Mickey Boy?
Boy, Adam Barris is going to beat Mick so bad, they're going to make a pair of shoes and luggage out of his khakis. Boy!
Oh, this was well worth the effort. Okay, it's a battle of the Ready Brothers. Blood versus blood. Anurag taking on Ablash, both needing a win. Who's gonna get it this week? Anu's projected to win, but he was projected to win last week with some disappointing performances from Drake London. Let's look at the roster here for Anu, and let's talk about Caleb Williams. Probably should spend less time painting his fingernails and learning how to throw the ball to his receivers. He's got a great receiving core, and he did not have a good first game. Could be first week jitters, who knows? But I really need to see Drake London get a rapport with Kirk Cousins there in Atlanta. That's going to need to take off. And poor Malik Neighbors, I wanted to believe that he was going to be awesome, but Daniel Jones is absolute garbage. He is absolute garbage. He's going against the Washington Commanders. They got a good defense. He's going to need an explosive, again, another output from Devin Achane. But I think Raheem Mostert gets a bulk of the carries this week. Both are on the injury report. I think they're okay. But I do like Abi this week. I like Abi even though Anu's projected to win. I think Joe Burrow bounces back. He's got to have a game after that terrible performance, and he usually plays good against Kansas City. That's going to be hopefully a shootout. A.J. Brown, again, is steady Eddie. He is going to produce and get those targets and probably find the end zone at least one time on Monday Night Football. I don't know about Pittman. Again, I don't think he's the guy in Indy. I really don't. He's just kind of like a safety blanket, but we'll see. The running back's not great for Abi. Moss. Oh, man, that was terrible. Zach Moss was awful. But Brian Robinson Jr. was good for the Commanders, shockingly. And also in the flex, Joe Mixon. Now, Joe Mixon had a great game last week. He went up against a bad Colts defense. The Bears aren't going to let him do that. However, I think this is going to be close, and I'm taking Abi this week. Who is going to be the better ready this week, Crocky J?
Well, real Sophie's choice between these two tossers. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably take Dr.
Well, there you go, Crocky J. Never disappoint. Okay, final game of the week. This is my game of the week. It is the defending champion, Dave Plow, taking on Jabel Souls Modelo Virus. And what could be a close game. Now, Jabel is projected to lose this week. Plow is on record, and myself, totally just kind of poo-pooing on the Jaden Daniels pick. And boy, we may have our foot in our mouths if he produces again in week 2. Now, most of his scoring came on the ground. I'd like to see him, throw it a little bit more, and that would make him a very dangerous quarterback. I think Mahomes is the better option this week. He had an okay game. He is going against Cincinnati. But let's look. Jabel needs to have a few players. These are the players he needs to have produced. Speaking of Joe Burrow, he's got to have Jamar Chase. He's got to have Jamar Chase produce. He needs a big game out of him. And Travis Etienne and Devin Singletary as the running backs is not going to help him. He needs to rely heavily on Brandon Ayuk as well. Hopefully Sam Laporta can actually put up a big game. I'm sure he'll get some targets in Tampa Bay. Now, Plow's team, I think Plow's going to win just because of Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is going to have the lion's share of the receptions there in L.A. with Puka Nacua out, and he's got Patrick Mahomes. I'm not worried about Scary Terry. He's probably just going to be a filler there. Jamar Gibbs, that's a great play with Jared Cook. So we'll see how that shakes out, but I'm taking Plow to win this week in a big matchup. So there you have it, the Week 2 roundup. We'll see you next time.
Oi!